Then there's certain words that if you use them in your requests will cause people to do what you want them to do. They won't even know why. And one of the best words that you can use is the word because. So a Harvard researcher did a little experiment. And in her experiment, Dr. Ellen Langer, this is, a few decades ago actually, and had her students, if you remember in universities, probably still that way a bit, they used to have these photocopying machines where you dropped coins in order to make copies. I can remember, when I was 8 or 10 years old, I'd go with my dad to the library to make copies, and there'd be this machine and you drop dimes in at that time, probably now it's loonies or quarters or something, and then you'd make your photocopies. So when there was a heavy exam load or term papers were due, there'd be this big long line of people waiting to make copies. And so they did this little experiment, or something quite like it. In the first part of the experiment, they had a group of sociology students or psychology students go up near the front of this long line of people waiting to make copies and simply ask the question, "May I get in front of you to make copies?" And what they found is by asking the question, 44% of the time the person said yes. Now this, all by itself, forgetting all the trickery, all the stuff that we've talked about technique-wise, what it says is when you ask somebody for something, you have a chance of getting it. Many people hint at things, they know what they don't want, they don't ask for the things that they want, and then they're disappointed when they don't get it. People cannot read your minds, at least not yet. I can read your minds, but other people cannot. All right, so the reality is people can't read minds, so they need to hear you ask for what you want. Then they did a second experiment, and they went near the front of the line, different group. They said, "Do you mind if I get in front of you to make photocopies? Because if I don't, my professor's going to fail me on this project." And as you can appreciate, the compliance rate shot all the way up to 98%. And that isn't the most intriguing. The most intriguing was the third example, where they said, "Do you mind if I get in front of you to make photocopies? Because I need to make photocopies." And the compliance rate stayed at 94%. So the difference between a really good reason and a lame reason was only 4%. So what does that mean? What it means is that when you add the word because to any request, you are adding a justification. Plus, you're tapping into the fact that most of us, between the ages of 6 and 12, if English was the primary language spoken in the household, were exposed to the word because whenever we needed justification. Mom, Dad, why do I have to do that? Because I said so. Because I love you. Because I want you to be safe. Because I'm going to smack you if you don't. And when they're really exasperated, they would say, "Just because." So the good news is the brain has been pummeled with using the word because linked to mom and dad telling you why you should do stuff. So as adults, when someone uses the word because, it causes our brain to call up the mommy-daddy justification that we had to accept when we were kids. And I'll tell you, it works on the factory floor. It works in social services. It works in offices. When you ask somebody to do something and you use the word because and give them any reason, they will increase their compliance to what you're asking for. Now, think of the other reason why this works, because different from just using that word. The reason is, when I push my ideas on someone else, they tend to resist. When I give them a justification, they tend to think, they weigh out the justification, they make a decision. Is that a good reason or not? So when you give people a reason, remember how some of us, when we're told to do something, well, why? Why should I do it? Everyone is asking the question, why should I do it? So when I say the word because and I give them a reason, I'm answering the question. I'm giving them the justification. And for those of you who are trying to influence people to do what you want them to do, you add the word because to increase compliance, and you'll see that people will do what you want more often. They'll be more ready to accept it.